Welcome to Conflict News 24. On daily basis, we share news stories about global conflicts with you. Firstly, a news story from Taiwan where Chinese military maneuvers, though officially came to a close a few days ago, but still significant Chinese military presence around Taiwan is continuing today. Dozens of Chinese aircrafts and vessels were spotted around Taiwan. Taiwan also conducted military drills, air drills, a few hours ago. Secondly, a new story about Russian military base in Europe. We have been hearing unverified claims that Serbia was going to host a Russian military base. But a few hours ago, Serbia openly announced that it would not host any foreign military base. Thirdly, Turkish President Erdogan has arrived in Ukraine. Just 3 hours ago, a meeting was held with participation of Erdogan, Turkish President, Zelensky, Ukrainian President, and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Erdogan visited Russia as well a few days ago. And we know that Erdogan and Antonio Guterres played a key role in facilitating Ukraine-Russia grain deal, and grain exports have started. Ukrainian grain exports. Can Turkey play a role in the resolution of this conflict, or is Turkey treating this conflict as a business? Because Turkey is selling its weapons. We have details and our analysis for you. And lastly, viewers, Russians are conducting deadly airstrikes on Kharkiv. This morning, deadly airstrikes were conducted. Both sides are sharing conflicting reports about the targets of these airstrikes. Ukraine does not have any effective defense against these Russian airstrikes. Ukrainian options are limited. How can Ukraine defend from these airstrikes? We'll try to analyze. Firstly, viewers, China-Taiwan recent escalation, which started after US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. Despite Chinese threats, she pressed ahead with the visit. She returned, and after that, China laid siege to Taiwan. China conducted military drills around Taiwan for around a week. Then the drills came to a close. But even after the closure of the drills, a significant Chinese military presence is being seen around Taiwan. Meanwhile, US is stepping up its engagement with Taiwan. After Nancy Pelosi, a US lawmakers delegation, a bipartisan delegation of senators visited Taiwan. And then yesterday, US announced to start trade talks with Taiwan's government. And after that, Chinese spokesperson, government spokesperson, rejected Taiwan US trade talks, saying that US was interfering in China's internal matters by holding direct trade talks with Taiwan. So US is continuing its interaction with Taiwan, and China is continuing with its military activities around Taiwan. Today, on Thursday, dozens of Chinese aircrafts and vessels were seen close to Taiwan. 51 Chinese aircrafts and 6 ships were seen around Taiwan, and 25 of these 51 aircrafts violated the median line, imaginary line, maritime border, air border, you can say, between China and Taiwan. So Taiwan's airspace was violated by 25 Chinese aircrafts today. And now it is becoming a norm that on daily basis Chinese aircrafts enter Taiwanese airspace, they surround Taiwan, their ships restrict the movement of Taiwanese vessels, and all this is happening because of renewed and ongoing and intensified US engagement, diplomatic engagement with Taiwan. Secondly, viewers, it seems that Serbia is stepping back from its support for Russia. Serbia today openly announced that it would not host any foreign military base. We have been hearing rumors for the past 1 week or so that Russia was going to establish a military base in Europe, in Serbia. And we know that Russian ambassador to Serbia in a statement spoke about a likely Russian military base in Serbia. The ambassador had said that it was a sovereign affair of Serbia whether to host a Russian base or not. So he did not reject the possibility of a Russian military base in Serbia. Everyone was waiting for an official position from Serbian government. Serbian president and Kosovo's prime minister are in Brussels, Belgium, where they held some meetings with European Union's High Representative Joseph Borrell. After that, Serbian president made it clear that Serbia would not host any foreign military bases. We know that at the end of last month, there was a serious border escalation on Serbia-Kosovo border. Since then, talks have been underway. Mediation is ongoing to diffuse tension on Serbia-Kosovo border. It seems that Serbia is not going to be a part of any alliance. Serbian president said that militarily Serbia would remain neutral. Its country would not host any foreign military base. Thirdly, viewers, Turkish President Erdogan is in Ukraine, in Lviv. He arrived a few hours ago in western part of Ukraine, where he held a meeting with Zelensky, Ukrainian president, and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also attended this meeting. Around 40-minute long meeting was held with Zelensky, Erdogan, and Antonio Guterres as participants. Can Erdogan play a role in resolving this crisis, Russia-Ukraine conflict? Erdogan was in Russia a few days ago. He held meetings with and discussions with Russian President Putin. And we know that Erdogan and Guterres, they managed to facilitate Russia-Ukraine grain deal a few weeks ago. And Russia agreed to Ukraine's grain exports. And we know that Ukraine is exporting its grain from 3 ports. Ships are on their way. So it became possible because of Turkish and UN joint efforts. The grain deal was signed in, I think, Istanbul, Turkey. So Turkey can play the role of a peacemaker, but Turkey sees wars as means of business as well, because we covered Libya war, Azerbaijan-Armenia war. We know that Turkey sells its weaponry to the parties to the conflict. It signs agreements for reconstruction of destroyed, damaged infrastructure. So first it sells weapons like drones, and then when peace agreements are signed, Turkish companies are involved in building infrastructure. That is how Turkey earns from conflicts. That's what happened in Libya. That Turkey sent its forces there, its drones there, because Turkey wanted to sign an EEZ agreement with Libya against a pipeline announced by Greece and Israel. And then Turkish government signed some agreements with Libyan government about reconstruction of destroyed, damaged infrastructure. Same happened in Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict. Turkey sold its TB2s to Azerbaijani government, and then Turkey secured some contracts for its companies in war-hit areas for rebuilding of war-torn areas. And the same could happen here as well in Russia-Ukraine conflict. Turkey has already sold its TB2s to Ukraine. Before the start of this conflict, Ukraine bought Turkish TB2s. And talks are underway for the establishment of a factory in Ukraine for the production of Turkish drones. Russia is interested in buying Turkish drones too. Will Turkey sell drones to Russia? It's not clear. It remains to be seen. But Turkey will definitely like to secure some contracts to rebuild war-torn areas. Let's see, can Erdogan play a constructive role? That remains to be seen. Erdogan can play a role in combination, in alliance with some other mediators. UN and some other mediators can be involved to diffuse this crisis, though it will take some time because so far Russian military is announcing that it wants to achieve its objectives. Ukraine is demanding complete withdrawal of Russian army from all Ukraine's territory. So the two sides are holding very extreme positions. It will take some time, but at least an effort should be started. So far, we are not seeing the start of any solid effort for an end, political end, diplomatic end to this conflict. No solid effort is being seen. Is Erdogan, aided by Guterres, going to start an international effort to bring peace? Let's see. Fourthly, viewers, this morning, early morning, Russian missiles struck Kharkiv region of Ukraine. Some residential buildings were targeted. Several buildings, not one, were severely damaged in these missile strikes. Ukraine says the strikes targeted residential areas inhabited by civilians. But today's Russian Defense Ministry briefing claims that the target were foreign fighters who were inside the buildings in Kharkiv. Several buildings have been destroyed. 7 casualties have been confirmed by Ukrainian government so far. 7 killed and dozens injured. The strikes were carried out in Saltivka. Now, airstrikes are a serious problem. Missile strikes, airstrikes are a serious problem for Ukraine. They do not have the weapons, effective weapons to counter Russian air power and missile power as well. Ukraine is in need of bombers, fighter jets, air defense systems, anti-missile systems, which are not being given to Ukraine by Europe, by EU, by US. Yes, EU, US are providing weapons to Ukrainian government, but Ukraine needs air defense systems. Ukraine needs fighter jets and bombers, which are not being given to Ukraine so far. And secondly, if you analyze daily briefings of Ukrainian and Russian military, you would see that Russia on daily basis briefs about its operations, which mostly consist of airstrikes on troops, airstrikes on ammunition depots, airstrikes on weapons in the battlefield, some like artillery pieces in the battlefield, like HIMARS, tanks in the battlefield. These are three main areas on which Russian military briefing focuses. On the other hand, when you see what Ukraine is reporting, it's all about defending. That Ukraine reports that Russian forces try to move into this direction, that direction, but Ukrainian forces repel this attack. So there is no offensive launched from Ukraine. Ukraine is just defending. And sometimes Ukraine admits Russian advances, that in this area, in this direction, Russian military has made gains. So Ukraine is still defending. Russians, though their advance has been slowed down, but they are advancing. Ukraine is at a serious disadvantage. Can it change the mode? Can it somehow change the gears and start an offensive campaign against Russia? We were hearing that Ukraine was going to launch offensive in southern Ukraine on Kherson, but it did not happen. Ukraine is now trying to hit Russian supply lines. Bridges, roads, railway lines are being targeted by Ukrainian HIMARS, artillery strikes, and Russian supply lines are coming under slight pressure. But main problem is how to defend from Russian air power, Russian missile power so far, and how to hit areas at a distance of more than 100 kilometers away, 200 kilometers away. Though Ukraine has shown this capability in recent days, it has hit some areas in Crimea, around 200 kilometers away from front lines. Still, Ukraine is in need of long-range missiles as well. Long-range missiles, air defense systems, fighter jets, bombers. These are the needs of Ukrainian military, which are not being met so far. Thanks for watching.